not really do my work. But I'm just wondering how you guys were able to balance schoolwork as well as extracurriculars.
Before arriving at Yale, I'd actually been doing it already for quite a number of years. So in high school, I was on the varsity swim team, also played basketball, and also was in a couple of courses. So I kind of used to doing it. The time management thing, I think, is one of those things you have to pay attention to now, because I think everybody around the table here has figured out their own way of managing their own sort of mental and body physical cycles. It's not necessarily, just in my opinion, it's not necessarily a matter of getting less sleep, nor is it a matter of working harder. I think it's just a matter of self-awareness and working smarter. It's a matter of just, it's really literally a matter of knowing how much, body down. And then after you sort of subtract all of that, you're left with the time that you need to manage for schoolwork and extracurricular activities. I mean, I'm kind of linear about, I'm really very linear about it. I know I need 6 hours of sleep, and that's it. I know, and after that, it's just a matter of figuring out how much time you need to do the other things that you need to do. But I think, not to speak for everybody else, there will come a time, and this is the important lesson that I've made. And there will come a time when you start to drop meetings, or you start to drop relationships, or you start to do all sorts of other things that are sort of generally unhealthy. In my opinion, it's at that moment that you can't start to beat yourself up, because if you beat yourself up and you get stressed out about it, it becomes a virtuous cycle. And the more you beat yourself up about it, the more you drop meetings, the more stressed out you'll be, and it just starts to become a virtuous cycle. So admit to yourself, I'm overcommitted. And cut something out.
I don't do the other stuff more than the school. I don't think there's a problem with that. And actually, I think this is what makes and I did a lot of college counseling for high school students. That's what I think actually makes, especially at Yale, but all over the place, the average black student that much more amazing than the average white student in general, is that I know my experience here was that the average white student, what they would do is they would go to class and that was it, right? Go to class, so Yale became sort of like a camp. So a camp experience, right? Whereas
My student didn't have to have a job.
Class, job, if you were an athlete, that, cultural activities, whatever else your hobbies are. And so for us, it was a very different experience. But for us, I think that showed how much more outstanding that we were and how much more resilience. And I think part of it is we come with that already. So this isn't like a brand new thing for us. A lot of us, this is what we had. On the other hand, you're not paying tuition or getting financial aid to do community service. So I think part of it is, there's a few different obligations you're trying to commit to here, and they're not going to give you a diploma based upon how many community service hours. And this is coming from someone who, just like you, enjoyed that much more and probably learned much more than I did outside the walls of the classroom than I did inside. But it's about, everyone's going to have their own time management style, and this is a skill that you actually take beyond Yale or undergrad. For me right now, it's a similar thing. It's like, how do I balance work, being a husband and a dad, doing all my little extracurricular sports. I actually have a sports talk radio, and it's not a bad thing, but it's part of the learning that you do. It's part of the learning that you do as a person, as a student, and then you take that to the next level. But it makes kids around here, all they do is go to class. That's it. They go to class and then they go party. Right?
Non-negotiables. I know I need to go to the gym because that gets my energy up and gets me through the rest of the week. But the other thing that's been really important for my life is do what you love. Now you're gonna love community service and all of that, but find classes that you love, and with the stuff that you have to do, that you have to do but don't want to do, be creative. examples, doing what I love. I was a political science and African American studies major. You too, okay. So already, I mean, I don't know what it is now at Yale, but we had some tremendous professors, and so I had Kathy Cohen, and I had, you know, all these different people. So it was not, it didn't even feel like work because I was devouring these books we had to read, and that was energizing me. And then for the stuff that I hated, you know, I think you guys still have the core curriculum or some kind of, you know, right, so I had to do math and science requirement, and I'm not, that's just not me. So I took fractal geometry, which was a very little creative class where we looked at the spread of tree branches and, you know, whatever. We were in there with all I can say is for the stuff that's like, you know, it's not vital, but you just gotta check it off. Just be creative, don't stress yourself out about it, but make sure you, in your major, that you're picking things and professors that you love and that are energizing you. Because that'll, you know, that'll help you kind of get through it. There was another piece.
Majors of South Carolina, Louisiana, Florida. I don't think that was helpful. And I'll tell you why it wasn't helpful. We had 90, worse than today, from one's perspective, different perspective. Today you may have maybe 96 during that time. About 97% of all blacks were Republicans. Hey, the Lincoln factor. Yeah, we just found a black Republican. They could not find a black Democrat. Now I'm telling you why that was not helping. Because in 1877, we had the Compromise of 1877. All blacks were Republicans. The leading black voice of a non-elected official was Frederick Douglass, a Republican. So all the blacks decided to go along with having a Republican president. That's the thing to do. They're Republicans, they want to be Republicans. But what did the Compromise of 1877 do, folks? Look, hey, wait a minute, I don't think it's a good idea. You know, I'm a Democrat, and you know, all these Republicans here who want to have a Republican president, but you know, I don't think it's a good idea to have the Northern troops who just freed us leave. That's what happened. No one said anything. Because we were Republicans. They're all stuck together. Hey, we're happy. Hey, happy days are here again. Ostracizing the Democrat. We had no voice on the other side. And whenever you have no voice on the other side, it's a dangerous thing. And that's what happened in 1877. Hayes didn't win the election. We all know that. Hayes didn't win the popular vote. Hayes didn't win the electoral vote. There's a state called Florida that, you know, flips things around. Things happen like that. So if you know our history, you recognize that we're the only ethnic group that acts like this. We take politics as God and the devil. Everyone else takes politics. Those organizations started to get their traction right after 1870. And what happened after that, folks, to finish this little history story, by 1901 we had no blacks in Congress, and it took 30 years to get blacks back in Congress. So it was a very, very bad period. And that's why you have, I can almost tell every one of my students in my class, they tell me where they're from, I can tell you where their parents are from, or their grandparents are from. Because the massive migration occurred right after that. If you're from Chicago, you're really from Mississippi. Unless young lady was, but anyhow, you have certain sections. People went to Louisiana, if you're from California, you're probably from Louisiana. If you're from North Carolina, if you're from Connecticut, you're probably from North Carolina. I mean, you can just see where the migration occurred. And it occurred because of all the rap that took place after the Compromise of 1877. We had more blacks in Mississippi than there were whites. There were more blacks in North Carolina than there were whites. There were more blacks in Louisiana than there were whites, and we controlled those states. All of that changed. Problem was, the only thing that I can tie it to, folks, would be that you have one-party domination. You need to, even if it's a 90% 10, it's better than 98-2. I'm not serious. It's not that serious. I'm telling you that, and I've been there.
We don't get media attention. They're not coming from your perspective.
I think they just went a little bit too far to make it before. All they have to do is, if they want to ostracize or just cause everyone in this room to walk out, I said one person is everyone leave. But and that's all you have to say. But the thing is, I don't think anyone would disagree with that. He's not here today, but I'm just saying. My point being that we use certain buzzwords or certain names, and all of a sudden that just causes just a knee-jerk type of reaction, and that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. So, all I'm saying to people is that you should devil in God. It's really about family. It's almost like it's like each other, but you could also, unlike a family, you can leave them any day you want. But you'll never, obviously, we all know, we'll never leave our heritage, our true heritage. But you can leave any part. It doesn't make any difference. It's not a real big difference, folks. How ethnic groups operate and how other people operate, and say that no side has all the answers. No side is 100% right, no side is 100% wrong. And if you go through our history, I'm glad this young man knew about 1877, because a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that we had black congressmen back in the 1860s, 1870s. They're wealthier than the congressmen were in 1990. As well educated, if not better educated than the congressmen in 1990. Yet we weren't allowed to read. So you can go through that later on in the history. But, so my point on both sides of the aisle, I can't tell you how many times I stopped measures that the Republicans wanted to push forward. And I'm sure that the same would be true in the other caucus, because you have someone who's actually in the room. And when you don't have people in the room, a lot of bad things can happen. So when the compromise in 1877 occurred, there were no one raised their hand and said, I don't think this is a good idea. And you go through your history now, you'll do some research. You'll find that Frederick Douglass didn't say anything. In fact, he even got rewarded after that happened. Many of his positions that he got in life happened after he was silent during that situation. Now, I'm not saying that he did anything sinister or whatever, but that's what the record would show. And that led to the attacks by the Ku Klux Klan and my family. I was a victim of the Yankees and the Dodgers. If you like hitting, you're a Yankee fan. You like pitching, you're a Dodger fan. You want to switch, you switch tomorrow. Strom Thurmond, one of the biggest racists in Congress. He was a Democrat and Republican. You can go through Ronald Reagan, Democrat and Republican. I mean, you can go through, I can give you a whole list of people. We're like, God. It's not like that. It's not that serious. It's not that serious. We make it so serious. Like,